A city is running out of fuel. Its streets are quiet. Engines are off, lights are dim, and frustration is spilling over. This is not Gaza or Kyiv. It's Bamako, the capital of Mali, a country in West Africa.
Right now, as you watch this video, something powerful is unfolding in Mali, a story hidden beneath the silence of the world. It's not trending on your feed, and it's barely whispered in the headlines, yet it carries the weight of a nation's struggle for survival. Beneath that silence, the people of Mali are enduring one of the toughest challenges in their recent history, a fuel crisis that has shaken every part of daily life. Imagine Bamako in September 2025. The capital city, home to over 4 million people, stands still. Fuel has vanished. Cars stretch in endless lines outside empty gas stations. Drivers sleep in their vehicles for nights on end, waiting for a few drops of hope. Schools are closed. Hospitals are barely operating. Even the lights in many homes flicker as generators begin to fail. The heartbeat of the city slows with each passing day. The price of fuel has exploded, more than 500% higher than normal.
Classes will be suspended throughout the national territory from Monday, 27th of October 2025 to Sunday, 9th of November 2025.
What once cost $25 now sells for over $130 a liter. But this isn't a story about market inflation. It's about siege and control. An armed group linked to al-Qaeda has taken control of the key transport routes that connect Mali to the outside world. Every major road that carries fuel into the country has become a danger zone. Tankers are hijacked, convoys burned, and drivers kidnapped. A silent blockade has descended on the nation, not through bombs or invasion, but through starvation of energy. For Mali, this is no small crisis. It's a question of survival. The country is landlocked, meaning every liter of fuel must cross its borders from neighbors like Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire, or Mauritania. When those roads are blocked, the entire nation suffocates. In early September, the armed group JNIM, Jama'a Nusrat ul-Islam wal-Muslimin, declared that no fuel truck should enter Malian territory. Their reason was revenge. Months earlier, the Malian government had restricted fuel supplies to some remote areas to cut off militants' logistics and supply lines. In response, JNIM decided to turn that same tactic against the entire country. Their plan worked quickly. Within weeks, transport came to a halt. Food and goods stopped moving. Power plants went quiet. Entire cities were left in darkness. In Mopti, residents lived more than a month without electricity.
Tensions are escalating in Mali, and a fuel blockade by al-Qaeda-linked terrorists causing severe fuel shortages and intercommunal violence. This has led to school closures and international warnings for citizens to leave the country immediately. Since September, al-Qaeda-linked fighters have targeted fuel tankers, particularly those coming from Senegal and Ivory Coast, through which the majority of Mali's imported goods transit.
Small workshops, factories, and shops that relied on generators shut down completely. One motorcycle taxi driver told reporters, "I pushed my bike for 9 kilometers because there was no fuel. Our work is finished." This was not just a fuel shortage. It was a full-scale economic attack. Children stopped going to school. Teachers couldn't travel. Patients in hospitals faced life-and-death situations as machines shut down. Every morning, the people of Mali woke up wondering how much longer they could endure. But beneath the hardship, there was something deeper taking place. This was not merely an economic crisis. It was psychological warfare. The militants didn't plan to invade the capital directly. Their strategy was more subtle, to make life so unbearable that people would lose faith in their government, forcing the state to crumble from within. Security experts across the region said JNIM's goal was to choke the economy and pressure Mali's leadership into political collapse. It was like a chess game. Rather than attacking head-on, they wanted to trap their opponent until the system fell apart on its own. By late September, some analysts believed Mali's government could not survive another month of blockade. They thought that growing frustration would turn into street protests or even rebellion. But Mali did not give in. The nation stood firm. Against all odds, it refused to break. On October 27, 2025, as the crisis deepened, Colonel Assimi Goïta made a decisive move. He reached out to international partners willing to support Mali during its hour of need. Within days, an agreement was made for the delivery of between 160,000 and 200,000 metric tons of petroleum to Mali. It was a bold step that changed the course of events. Soon, massive convoys of fuel trucks began to move toward the country. They took routes that militants didn't expect, paths through rough and dangerous terrain, protected by armed escorts of Malian soldiers and foreign instructors. Over 300 trucks made it safely to Bamako. When the first tankers arrived, hope returned. Generators roared back to life in hospitals. Markets reopened. The sound of vehicles moving again through the streets reminded people that the nation was breathing once more. It wasn't just a fuel delivery. It was a message. A message that Mali would not be defeated by fear or isolation. The arrival of those tankers showed the courage of the drivers who risked their lives and the soldiers who protected them. Many of them knew they might not make it back, yet they pressed forward because the future of their country depended on it. Prime Minister Choguel Maiga described the operation as fuel soaked in human blood, honoring the sacrifices of those who made it possible. Along the routes, the remains of burnt-out tankers stood as reminders of how costly this fight for survival had been. One driver said, "You never know if you'll return alive, but you drive because the nation needs you." Even now, the blockade hasn't fully ended. Fuel remains limited, prices are still high, and the militants continue to strike at transport routes. Yet the worst has passed. Schools are reopening. Lights are returning to towns that were once dark. People are regaining their sense of purpose. And that endurance, that quiet resistance, is itself a victory. Success does not always mean total peace or perfect stability. Sometimes, success simply means refusing to collapse. Mali has shown that survival can be a powerful form of triumph, a declaration of independence in the face of immense pressure. There is a well-known saying across West Africa, "However long the night, the dawn will break." For Mali, the night has been long, marked by sanctions, coups, and insecurity. But once again, the nation has chosen to rise rather than bow. Through this storm, Mali has proven that resilience is strength and unity is its greatest weapon. But this is not just Mali's story. Across the Sahel, a broader awakening is taking place. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have joined hands under the Alliance of Sahel States. Together, they have declared that African nations must take ownership of their security, their economy, and their destiny. Their message is simple: Africans must solve African problems. Each of these nations has faced isolation and hardship, yet they continue to stand tall. And when Mali refused to collapse under blockade, it sent a powerful message of hope across the region that no matter how heavy the burden, unity can carry a nation through. If Mali had fallen, the consequences could have been devastating. The alliance might have fractured. The militants could have gained more ground, spreading instability deeper into the continent. But Mali's resilience stopped that chain reaction. It showed that even under siege, determination can rewrite the story. For the militants, the goal was to make Mali surrender. But what they achieved instead was a renewed spirit of resistance. The people's unity and their government's determination exposed the limits of fear as a weapon. What we are witnessing now is not just a crisis. It is a turning point. This is a test of sovereignty, of independence, and of the will to survive without bowing to outside dictates. For too long, African nations have been told to depend on others for solutions. But the reality unfolding in Mali shows that even when isolated, a nation can rise by its own will. Yes, the road ahead remains difficult. The fuel supply is still fragile. The battle against armed groups continues. But the country has found its voice, a voice that says, "We will not be broken." Analysts may still debate whether Mali can maintain this resilience, but that debate misses the real story. The true victory is not in complete calm. It is in refusing to surrender. It is in standing firm when the world expects you to fall. What is happening in Mali is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter in which African nations define their partnerships on their own terms, defend their sovereignty, and show that independence is not a gift, but something earned through endurance and courage. Mali's journey is a reminder that strength is not always measured by wealth or technology, but by the heart of a people who refuse to give up. The blockade may continue, but so does the will to survive. In the coming months, the world will look back and see what few noticed. Mali did not crumble. It adapted. It did not surrender. It endured. And that endurance is echoing far beyond its borders, inspiring every African nation that faces its own battles. Because in the heart of the Sahel, beneath the weight of hardship, Mali still stands, unbroken, unbent, and unafraid. Its people have proven that resilience is power, and that power, once awakened, can light the path for an entire continent.